everybody, Waluigi18 here with a new series. I call it Map Reviews, where I review the maps from the Conquerors 3. And just for the basics, pink, which is right here where my mouse is. By the way, I need to increase that brush width to a good old 95. That's way too big. Oh, way too big. Like, let's go to 30. Still too big. Let's go to, I don't know, 10. That's perfect. Yeah, this pink is, well, the command centers. These yellow filled-ins are super crystals, green filled-ins are normal crystals, and reds are points of interest, like where you want to take over. So, pretty much this, if you're watching this, you should probably know what the game is, and if not, just leave a comment down below. I might make a video on rating the game too. Why not? So, of course, let's talk about the stats and stuff of this game. Map. So, the max income is 390 cash per minute, which is decently high, but let's just say you have this. In a normal playthrough, when you're kind of superior, but you're not using the sneak strategy, I'll tell you about that later, then you use my strategy where I only build nuclear plants and super crystals until late game where I had lots of money. You would have about 30, 45, no, not 45, 60, 75, 85 cash per minute, which is actually pretty good for an early game. So if you can get that done, then you already have an advantage. Though, of course, say you're a little sneak into a territory or two, you can get, like, an extra... Wait, was I giving that 15 per each? Let me recount that. 30, 10... Okay. My strategy would actually have 70, not 85. Sorry. 85 would be if you had nuclear plants at all. Used to play like a noob with nuclear plants everywhere. But yeah. So... areas like over here, let's say you sneak into like 1 or maybe 2 enemy these areas, then you get like an extra 10 to 20 cash per minute, or you grab this one, another extra 10. Now there's no water on this map, and there are 20 super crystals, 16 super, can't say super today, which are next to each command center, and 14 normal, 2 in each base, and then the 2 in the center. Now, the reason that these areas, like right here, are all valuable is because of the value that they, have. Because they're choke points into your base. These 2 areas are valuable just for being outside crystals and close to enemy bases. Not as nearly as valuable as these, though. And also it's easy to make a base there. Now, this is a very good place early game to have. In fact, one of the good early game units, the construction soldier, is able to build the base at a choke point. Speaking of early game, here are some good units. I recommend you build a barracks within the first 5 minutes of the game, if possible. Don't go build barracks right away, but early. And produce at least 1 sniper early game for killing the infantry units that the people will have. If you have areas, use a sniper because you won't have tanks till later into the game. Snipers kill pretty much every infantry. The scout that you start out with would be good, but if you really want to, you can make more scouts to go invade everyone's homelands, and build a plant. It's really fun to mess with people that way, and also a really good strategy. Now, heavy soldier, just because heavy soldiers are always useful. Now, in the early game, I'm going to make a little thing. So let's just say you'll start here. I think that color is normally like... yeah, it's blue. So, what I recommend is starting here. This is your main troop. You go all the way up, build here, send a smaller troop this way over here, and then, of course, build at the choke point. And if nobody's over there yet, quickly send a troop there, or send your scout there. And of course, that's what I think is good for the early game. I'm gonna turn this back on, actually. And then this will be my later game colors. So yeah. Now, let's go to mid-game for this map. I'm gonna disable the appearance of this. So, mid-game. All early game units except Scout and Construction can still be used at this point, so the Heavy and Sniper are still useful. More Snipers would be better, and Heavies are just always useful, and nearly every map. I haven't played many maps where Heavy Soldiers aren't useful. By the way, they're better than Juggernauts. So, obviously you won't use Construction Soldiers unless your middle thing is destroyed. And tanks, because, well, they're tanks and they have power. Any tank will do, except anti-air. That's, like, not that good on this map. Now, space fighters can replace scouts, but you can wait till late game, because these are kind of expensive. But say you have the advantage, maybe you took out somebody or something, and you have lots of money, make space fighters so you can invade everybody's territories, taking out their plants. Because the areas like here and here and here and here, space fighters can go over them. So yeah. And but of course you can wait till late game. Now heavy planes are cheaper and, well, they're good because they have a long lifespan, unless they get killed or anti-air units, but heavy planes have more HP than space fighters. Now medics are useful because they're mobile healers. And along with the Humvee/Jeep, with a few snipers, you can have like a self-healing infantry killer, which is really good. Also, snipers don't just kill infantry, they also kill Humvees and Jeeps. Just something to know. And artillery. Oh yeah, Humvee and Jeep for the transportive units on land. Now, there's artillery, which is, well, is like the same thing as snipers, except for killing buildings. Now, I personally don't think artillery is the best thing in the world, but let's just say you already researched a Humvee, or anything else, really. You can just start researching artillery and make a few. They won't hurt you too much. So, of course, let's just say you're middle game. Now, depending on the power of the nearby people, attack them. You can just go through and take this area and, like, the neighboring people areas. Just burst through there if you can. Do at least one. And then, if you want, you can also go attack their other area. Oh, oops, wrong way. And also, if you want, you can take the other area. This is saying you have more of a dominance over the map. So yeah, that's what you'd probably do mid-game. You can, if you really want to, you can even attack these areas, but I wouldn't advise attacking these. Don't attack the team across from you, because that's the farthest from you on the map. And of course, now we go to late game. Late game, pretty much all mid-game units, and just nuke/other herdy dudes. So, technically, if in mid-game you could start to take over, but everybody probably is strong, so a nuke or two wouldn't be bad. Just make sure to do it when everybody's at war, not when it's a little peaceful. So, the late game strategy, so say you have these two areas. Say in mid-game you did actually take these two areas. It doesn't now have how many cash per minute? Well, let's see. That's 40, 60 per area, using my strategies, of course. Except it's 50 for the other two. You would have 160 cash per minute, and if you have both of these, you'd have 180. Which means you can hurt now, considering you have like the whole bottom half. Now somebody has the whole top half and this, then you are kind of at an equal playing field, which means you should be on the offensive. So of course, late game you charge through, beating up the enemy. He's on both sides. He's from your base, where you should have some able reinforced ability, and pretty much take everything from your enemies. And then of course, if you can assert your dominance, if you can defeat everything, you can go and just defeat the last person. Though of course FFA is usually never that easy due to teamers, which is this map's worst quality, it being FFA. So, of course, let's go to the bad units. Anti-air tank, due to anti-air soldiers and anti-air turrets being more useful overall. Like, anti-air turrets are useful when air troops are trying to attack your base. Anti-air soldiers aren't as important because they're kind of a waste, but they are useful. Helicopter, due to this A being on a land map, and B, it doesn't go high enough to really help here. Sure, a transport plane may help, but it can't carry tanks, so just wasting planes for soldiers. And yeah, transport planes safe for heli. Light soldiers are weak after the early game. After your first 3 light soldiers, you should just build heavies. This map in particular isn't light soldier friendly. I could probably list like a few maps that are light soldier friendly, like a rush map, but this map is the opposite of a rush map, so yeah. Now, light planes, they're just normal planes, or heavy planes, but faster and weaker. Stealth bomber, because it just doesn't go high enough to be useful in this map. You'd have to go around the enemy base, and they would, discover you. Now, of course, if this is later in the game, the stealth bomber isn't the worst decision ever. Also, it is a researched unit. That isn't the best. And of course, the least debatable research unit of all, juggernauts. They're just bad. There's no map where I would say, yeah, use juggernauts. Except maybe a rush map. And even then, light soldiers kind of take the priority because you can quickly make them and send them into the battlefield. And yeah, it's pretty simple. And the general, just because it's not really useful on this map. The general isn't generally useful. It's a weak unit that dies quickly and only gives a slight buff to your soldiers. So, of course, he isn't the most useful. I don't give him as bad of a rep as juggernauts because juggernauts are just plain bad. They have something that they're supposed to be better than, but they're worse than they're supposed to be worth 2 heavy soldiers, but they're worse than 2 heavy soldiers. That kind of makes them bad. And the general, at least, has some uniqueness to it. It's the only unit that does that, so if you are a user of the general, then this map could be used. But if you don't use the general normally, don't start it here. Of course, that's the basic documents. Now it's time to go into strategies. Oh, I should save it. Now, of course, my biggest strategy for this is this strategy, the Waluigi 818 offensive strategy of the 3-game offensive. Early game, just worrying about yourself, potentially going into others, but I won't put that in this strategy. And the late game aim, of course, late game, of course of attacking everybody. Mid game of being slightly offensive. Oops, gotta delete that. So of course, though, there is another strategy that I give, and I call this one the everyone's a jerk. Because if everyone's not a jerk, then you might not do so well here. So of course, this strategy will be beginning from here. Remember, any of these strategies can be duplicated from other bases, though of course may be reflected if you're on this side. And of course, these 2 bases are probably the worst for a lot of strategies due to them being the farthest out of the 3 bases close to a crystal, which in my opinion isn't the best, but hey. So you start here. It's like the same pink. I'm gonna give it a different pink, purpley pink. So that was a notification on somebody's tablet. Okay, so you start here, go to both of your crystals. You always do that. Go to the middle, maybe leave a construction soldier there, or not, or you can take this and build a base there. This is the strategy that I've used before. Doesn't always get you the win, but it can. Now, of course, keep your units like up here, like in this area, if you're not doing anything, so that you can defend both areas, or in this case this area, or this area, or this area, or this area no matter what, or this area, or this area. For these two teams, this area, this team would be here or here, depending on which one. These two teams would have theirs. These two teams over here don't get the best. Yeah. So then, after taking this, you would also just, this is the sneaky part of the strategy, slip into, I don't know, this team's base. We'll do this. Leave a plant there, and then just escape. And you can do it to any of these crystals. By the way, the size doesn't mean anything. I just don't feel like copying and pasting. I'd rather just remake the squares. Also, you can take over here if you want to, but I don't know. Do whatever you want. And then, of course, there's what I call Wave 2, which is when you have to become more offensive. And this is when you legitimately break in and attack. Like one of your neighbor's crystals. Don't go to the north, stay by your neighbors, unless somebody in the north is planning to attack, and then you kind of charge into one. You don't have to do both of your neighbors at the same time, by the way. And of course, take their overhears if you want. And then, well, take them out really, and just do your work. And of course, continue on, and you can even do it to the other bases if you want to. So, really, it doesn't matter who you attack. Just attack people. Because this is the aggressive strategy. And then there's the finale. This is the final countdown part of the game, where you have your full army, all the recommended units, charge through, take out the enemy, and pretty much attack. Though, of course, it's not always this easy. These are the strategies where everything goes your way. I'm not counting in the point that, A, these barriers are going to be hard and will take multiple tries to take out, depending on the skill level and building level of your opponents. Say they're total noobs at free-for-all and don't know how this map works, then yeah, it'll be this easy as these strategies. But if they're a little more seasoned and can actually know how this map works, then they might have the advantage on you, and you must take the defender strategy. Though, of course, these are the two main strategies I'd give this map. There are potentially other strategies that you may leave down in the comments down below if you want. And of course, with 18 minutes of me talking to you guys, that was longer than I thought. I thought it was only 10 minutes. I think this video is done. See you next time.